Hello everyone, Lucoshi here, welcome back to another video on Zandleij Zoo. It's been a while again, sorry about that, but you know me, I get very demotivated very easily. But I finally got back to building, so here we are. We are starting off with building the ring-tailed lemur exhibit. Yes, I've decided on what animal's going to be in what exhibit. And I decided that this one would be way better for ring-tailed lemurs. I started off building for just either the lemurs or the squirrel monkeys, but when I finished the exhibit I was like, yeah, it's gotta be for the ring-tailed lemurs, because I have some elements in it which are just very lemur exhibit kind of like. They are things you see in lemur exhibits often, and I feel like with my whole theory on zoo species at the start of a zoo, it would be dumb to then start with squirrel monkeys if I have the option to go with lemurs. Because lemurs are just way more of a zoo species than squirrel monkeys. Everyone knows ring-tailed lemurs, not everyone knows squirrel monkeys. Most people do, but not everyone. And especially kids will be more inclined to know ring-tailed lemurs and like them than squirrel monkeys, I think. Yeah. So the exhibit is mostly just about all of the wooden stuff that's in it. There aren't any plants as far as I know. I think it's a very barren exhibit, which could obviously change someday in the future, but for the time being I just want everything to be very new and very very not full of plants and stuff. So because I feel like that is how a very new zoo would be, and yeah, I don't think they would get plants everywhere if they aren't truly necessary, but obviously they will do for decorating purposes and stuff, and we will have an exhibit in this episode which will have a lot of plants, but I felt like it would be cool to have this one be a bit more empty, and we can just add stuff to it later on, because I think that's something that would be cool to do in this series, to just keep improving the exhibits later on. We did it in the original Boothof as well. The original Wallaby exhibit we had in there was very barren as well at the start, but then slowly started getting more plants and stuff, which is something I think would be cool to do in this zoo as well. But that is pretty much the lemur exhibit done, I think. So yeah, I think it became very cool, especially with the foliage around it. Eventually it will be pretty cool. I played around with a big tree over the entrance gate because I just really feel like there should be a big tree over there. Because that's mostly how I do my big foliage. I just add the exhibit from a certain point of view, which I think is important as a sideline, and then just in my head see where the foliage should be, when something is missing, and where something big would look good. And then I try to recreate that in the game itself, which often means I need to raise or lower some trees with the ground underneath it. So you'll see me doing that a lot, which just in general is a good thing to do, because it breaks the monotony of multiple trees which look exactly the same being right next to each other, because that often looks very bad. And then we start on the rest of the foliage and stuff, and we quickly start on the next exhibit, which is going to be our yellow mongoose exhibit. Now this exhibit is very inspired by Zizo, and you saw some hints of it in the recent challenge video in which I built 3 yellow mongoose exhibits, but yeah, this one is kind of a combination of the 3. It is a very cheap feel of the first one, the foliage of the second, of the sand and decoration of the last one. So that's kind of cool. I really like this exhibit. I don't often say that about my own exhibits because I hate it when people say that, but I think it's cool. I think it's very different, and I think it's pretty realistic in the way that it works and in the way that it should be. I like it. So we start off with this shelter, which I have used multiple times and which I've seen other people use a lot. That's actually where I got the idea from other people, and I really dig it. It's really cool. And the exhibit has a couple dynamic viewing points, because you have the one from the main path, and then this lowered section with some glass. I don't want to use too much glass in its zoo because glass is expensive for a new zoo, I believe. So yeah, I want to mainly stick with other stuff, which will mostly come down to chain link and wood and stuff. And as you can see over here, concrete. But yeah, we can use some glass at certain points, and I felt like for the yellow mongoose exhibit it would be a very good idea to use some glass to give people and especially kids a better look at the yellow mongooses. Because I really like yellow mongooses. I think they're far and away the most beautiful and fun mongoose species out there. I like them way more than meerkats. So yeah, if this is my zoo, I want people to appreciate the yellow mongooses as well. Which is also why they're pretty much the first animal inside the real zoo. Because all of the macaws and the turtles and the lemurs to an extent aren't even in the zoo yet. They are on the opening plaza. So I think it's cool to have a very dynamic exhibit at the start. As you can see, we have a backstage area for these animals, which I think is really neat. To the back of their shelter thingy, they go to the backstage part, which has another shelter. And that shelter sticks out of the quarantine area because then they can close it off and possibly take it out or something, or open it on the other side, and I think that's a cool idea. I think this layout of this exhibit, it works. It feels pretty real to me, also because I have this chain link barrier around the tree I'll put in a minute. And yeah, I just like it. I'm not a huge fan of these branches, but I did want to have branches over here, and I couldn't really think of a better way to do it than just adding lots of these branches. But as you can see, they become very monotone because they're all the same color, and it's just the same two shapes everywhere, which kind of works because they're different sizes and they are just very abstract shapes, so it isn't really noticeable, but the color does really stick out. But I didn't have a better idea for any branches, so I just went for these. And again, the ground textures and such is a mix of various things, which makes it look pretty realistic and kind of dynamic and stuff. I hope you guys like it as well, because if everyone hates it, then I look kind of dumb. Then over here we have the common squirrel monkey exhibit, which was kind of hard to get right because I didn't really know what to do with it. Because on the one hand, I wanted it to be very lush with foliage, but on the other hand, I also kind of wanted it as barren as the lemur exhibit. In the end, I went for a kind of vegetation style of the yellow mongoose exhibit, so a lot of sand, but in the corners there is some bushes and stuff, especially because of safety reasons, which I'll come back to in a second. This indoor exhibit is a bit weird, but it has a window on the left side so people can look into the indoor part, because that's something zoos really often do, and especially these small zoos very often have windows in these wooden shelters and stuff. Best Zoo at least, and Zizo. I keep talking about Best Zoo and Zizo, and you probably don't know what that is if you're not Dutch, but those are two small Dutch zoos which are very close to me, so I'll reference them a lot and refer to them a lot. So yeah, now you know. And in this zoo so far we have worked a lot with just wood and the ropes, and I like it. The zoo is already getting an identity, kind of, and I think it's really cool, because Bodenhof was all over the place with its building style, but I feel like this all fits together so far. Every exhibit feels like it fits in the zoo, and I like that. That's what I was going for with the zoo anyway. At the moment it's very much still under construction and not finished yet because, well, obviously we don't have a lot of exhibits yet, but the background foliage isn't in place yet, and that makes you see the entire map, and I hate that, so we won't act as if it's finished yet. Once we get the final two exhibits in the next episode for the owl species, we will finish up everything with the background foliage and stuff, so we can actually get into the real project and start trading with people and getting new species in. That should be fun. Yeah, that's the main thing about the entire series, of course, to be able to trade with other people and get storylines going and stuff, and I think that will be really cool. But at the start we first need to get our footing with the zoo, so that's what we do at first. For this exhibit, the foliage is in these front two corners because then it kinda keeps the squirrel monkeys away from the people at the fence, because they're right next to the fence and squirrel monkeys tends to bite and be kind of aggressive as far as I've heard, so I thought it would be a good idea to put some plants over there so they don't up to go near there. And the foliage in the back I got a bit carried away with because I kept tinkering with it to get it exactly how I wanted it. Because I had this big tree at the right and I wanted an even bigger tree at the left, but then I was like, I need this slope kind of thing to the right, that would be cool. But I didn't have the right foliage for that, so I had to mix a lot of foliage. But in the end I think it looks really cool because there is a lot going on, there is a lot of different colors and shades. And I like the end product, I really do. But people, that's it for all we have built actually. Let's go to the real-time thing. So here we are once again in our entrance plaza, which has remained unchanged. But we do now know what we're going to put in the aviaries. Aviaries, I should say, I think. I'm not sure. This first one will have our blue and yellow macaws. Both are females. We have 2 of them. Then over here we'll have our 3 golden colored macaws, 1 male and 2 females. And we also have 4 yellow-bellied sliders. In the previous video I said red-eared sliders, but that is false. They are yellow-bellied, and we have 1 male and 3 females, which will all go into here. Then our ring-tailed lemur exhibit over the entrance will have 5 ring-tailed lemurs, 1 male and 4 females. And yeah, this is what it looks like. Like I said, over here you can kinda see into it if they are in a good spot. And obviously here you can see them very well. And we have a staff entrance over here. Once again, I've not yet made an inside because I am lazy and they are hard to do. Then once we actually get into the zoo, as you can see, obviously it's not finished yet. There needs to be stuff over there and such, but the exhibit itself I really like. I like the common squirrel exhibit, so this one, the common squirrel monkey exhibit I should say. So this one will have 1 male and 2 female common squirrel monkeys, and once again, this keeps happening every time I reopen the game. So that sucks. I'll have to find a fix for that. But yeah, it's a pretty barren exhibit, but it doesn't really matter because most of the stuff is happening up here anyway for the guests. So yeah, I like it. Over here we have another view of the ring-tailed lemur exhibit. And we have this little table, which is something I saw in a zoo somewhere, I don't know where, but I saw it once for a ring-tailed lemur exhibit and I really like the idea. It's dumb, but it's fun. I like it. We're probably going to have a window over here someday once it actually gets extended, we'll see. And then over here we have another nice semi-viewing point for the ring-tailed lemurs, which I think is cool. It just is better to have something like this than just having only foliage. I like this way more. It still keeps you in a zoo feel instead of like being in a park. And I want this to still have a zoo feel. And then, yeah, this one. Our yellow mongoose exhibit. I really dig it. I like it. We should probably have some more sand instead of only dirt. And I thought we had more sand, but apparently we don't. So I'll have to change that in the future probably. But this could also work. You guys tell me. I'm not sure if yellow mongoose even like normal sand. I don't know. But yeah, once again, backstage stuff, which will not really be visible to the guests except for from here to look behind it, which I think is neat. And I'm going to try to not get the guests too near this, to have foliage over here and such, or another backstage stuff for a different exhibit. But yeah, we're shaping up quite nicely. It's still very small, but we already have 5 exhibits. So that's cool. Next episode, we only need 1 more exhibit before we have all our species shown, and that will be for the European great grey owls, which will probably go over here somewhere. Or possibly over here. Who knows? We will see, and then we can get started on getting new species in. I'll probably get a new species in already before the next episode, because only great grey owls will be a very short episode. But we'll see. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you're liking it so far. I'm really liking how we're shaping up. And I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.